It started with an old letter tucked away inside a dusty crate in my grandfather's attic. The handwriting was shaky, ink faded, but the words chilled me. It was addressed to no one, as if written to the air itself. If you ever find yourself drawn to the forest beyond Ashridge Hill, turn back. The cabin isn't what it seems. I showed it to my friend Marcus, half laughing, hoping he'd find it creepy too. Instead, he raised an eyebrow and said, "You mean the one near Timber Creek? My uncle mentioned that place once. Said people used to go missing out there." That was all it took. By the weekend we had packed up. Me, Marcus, and our two other friends, Ellie and Jordan. We told ourselves it was just another spontaneous camping trip. Something thrilling. The weather was clear, and the forest looked calm as we drove deeper into the hills. The trees getting thicker, and the road almost non-existent. There was a strange stillness in the air, the kind that presses against your skin and makes sound feel muffled. It took us 4 hours to find the cabin. From the outside, it looked exactly like you'd imagine. Weather-beaten wood, a sagging roof, and a porch with broken steps. But what struck me the most was how clean everything was. No vines growing over the door, no animals nesting in corners, as if it had been expecting us. Inside, the cabin smelled like dry rot and coal ash. Dust danced in the air when sunlight touched it, but there was something else, something beneath the surface. The floor creaked in patterns, almost like footsteps trailing behind us. I didn't say anything. Maybe I didn't want to believe it. Ellie found an old Polaroid camera on a table. It still had film. She laughed, snapped a photo of Marcus near the window, and waved it round to develop. When the image cleared, she frowned. "Weird," she muttered. "There's like something behind you." We crowded around. Behind Marcus, in the reflection of the window, there was a blur. A smear of black, like someone had passed by mid-shot. But we were all in the room. We told ourselves it was a trick of the light. That night we built a fire outside and cooked canned food. Jordan kept making jokes, trying to lighten the mood. But I noticed how often he glanced back toward the trees. Every so often, we'd hear a crunch in the underbrush, like footsteps that would stop the moment we fell silent. I told myself it was animals. It had to be. When we finally settled into sleep, I took the small room at the back. The walls were lined with scratch marks. Not claw marks, but long, thin gouges, like fingernails dragged down the wood. I stared at them too long. I didn't sleep much that night. Around 2 a.m., I heard whispering. Very faint, like someone murmuring behind the wall. I pressed my ear against it. The voice was hoarse, repeating a word I couldn't understand. I told myself I was dreaming. I had to be. But when I woke the next morning, my door was wide open. I know I locked it before bed. And there, right in the middle of the floor, was a Polaroid photo. One I hadn't seen before. It was of me, asleep, taken from inside the room. And I was completely alone. I didn't tell the others about the photo right away. I slipped it into my jacket pocket and tried to act normal. But my heart wouldn't settle. Someone had been in the room. Someone had been standing over me while I slept. And none of us had left our rooms that night. Or so we said. At breakfast, the mood was off. Marcus kept rubbing his temples like he had a headache. Ellie looked pale, like she hadn't slept either. Jordan was the only one pretending everything was fine. But his jokes were quieter now. He barely touched his food. I noticed his hands trembling when he poured his coffee. "Did anyone else hear Whispering last night? I asked, trying to sound casual. They all went still. I thought that was you, Ellie said, frowning. You were talking in your sleep. I wasn't. No one spoke for a few seconds. Marcus glanced at the hallway. I heard something too, like someone pacing, but when I looked, nothing was there. After breakfast, we explored the area around the cabin. The forest stretched endlessly, trees twisted and unnaturally quiet. There were no birds, no bugs. Even the wind felt like it was holding its breath. That's when we found it. Behind the cabin, half buried in moss and leaves, was a stone circle, old, cracked, and covered in strange carvings. It didn't look like anything natural. Ellie took out her phone to snap a photo, but the screen flickered and died. No signal, she muttered. Even GPS is frozen. We stood there staring at the circle, and I could feel it, this silent pressure in the air. Like something watching, like something waiting. I don't know why, but I whispered, we should go back. Back inside, the cabin felt colder. The air had shifted. The shadows were longer. I started noticing small things out of place. A chair slightly turned, a window I was sure we closed now wide open. Ellie swore her backpack had been unzipped. She hadn't touched it. Around midday, Marcus started acting. Off. He'd go silent mid-sentence and just stare at the walls. His eyes would twitch like he was following something the rest of us couldn't see. Marcus, I said, are you okay? He blinked and looked at me like he didn't recognize me for a second. Yeah, just a migraine. But that night, it got worse. We lit a fire in the fireplace, trying to keep the cold away. No one wanted to admit how scared we were. But we all felt it. The cabin was changing. The walls creaked even when there was no wind. The floorboards groaned like footsteps circling the room. The fire didn't give off warmth anymore. It just flickered, weak and shaky. Ellie brought out the Polaroid again. I don't know if this thing's broken or cursed, she muttered, but every photo I take looks wrong. She showed us 3 new shots. Each of them had a dark blur somewhere in the frame. One behind me, one in the hallway, one hovering near the ceiling. It wasn't smoke. It wasn't shadow. It was something. Then we heard it, from the attic above us, a loud dragging noise. Heavy, slow, as if something huge was being pulled across the floor. None of us had been up there yet. Jordan grabbed the flashlight. It's probably rats, big ones. But we all knew. He didn't believe that. We climbed the stairs together, hearts pounding. The attic door was shut, the wood swollen from moisture. When we opened it, a rush of freezing air hit us. Inside, the attic was dark except for the beam of our flashlight. Dust swirled like ash. Boxes were stacked in corners, untouched, except one. One had been dragged to the center, lid torn off. Inside were more photographs. Hundreds, all Polaroids. Some yellowed with age. Every single one was of people, sleeping, crying, screaming. Some in the cabin, some in the woods, some staring straight into the camera with wide, terrified eyes. Ellie gasped and picked one up. Her hands shook. It was her, a photo of her, taken from the porch. Last night. We backed away slowly, and that's when Marcus screamed. We turned to see him collapse to his knees, clutching his head. He started muttering something under his breath. We leaned in, and it wasn't English. It wasn't any language we recognized. His eyes rolled back for a moment, then he went still. A long moment passed, then he stood up. But something was different. His face was calm, too calm. I'm fine, he said flatly. Let's go back downstairs. We followed, too shaken to argue. But I watched him. His movements were too smooth, his voice hollow. That night I slept with my back to the wall and a pocket knife under my pillow. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw flashes of the stone circle, of shadowy hands reaching through cracks in the walls. I didn't sleep long. Sometime after midnight, I woke up to a sound. Software. Wet. Dripping. I sat up. The floor outside my door was soaked. A trail of muddy water led from the hallway into the kitchen. I followed it, heart hammering. In the kitchen, Marcus was standing in the corner, facing the wall. Soaking wet, breathing slow. Marcus? He didn't move. Marcus, what the hell are you doing? He turned his head slowly, just his head, and smiled. But it wasn't his smile. It was too wide, too cold. And then, without blinking, he said, "They're awake now." And all the lights went out. I froze. The kitchen was pitch black now. And Marcus, whatever had taken over Marcus, was still standing there. His silhouette barely visible in the faint moonlight bleeding through the cracked window. His head was slightly tilted, the way a curious animal might observe its prey. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs felt rooted to the floor. Every instinct in me whispered, "Don't move, don't breathe." Behind me, I heard footsteps, light, bare. "Ellie," she whispered, "did you see his eyes?" I nodded slowly. Even in the dark, I could remember them. Pure black, no white, no emotion. Like something ancient was wearing his body like a suit. Jordan stumbled into the kitchen seconds later, a baseball bat clutched in his shaking hands. "We need to leave, now." "But we can't," Ellie said. "The keys are gone, my phone's still dead, and She pointed at Marcus. "He's not the only thing in this place." Before any of us could speak again, Marcus turned fully toward us. He began humming, a low, tuneless sound that made the walls vibrate. And then he started walking, slowly, deliberately, straight toward us. I grabbed Ellie's hand and pulled her backward. "Upstairs, now." We ran, feet thudding on the wooden stairs, the humming growing louder behind us. Not frantic, not rushed, patient. Like whatever was inside him knew we had nowhere to go. We barricaded ourselves inside the attic with whatever we could push in front of the door. The photos were still scattered across the floor, faces staring up at us in eternal horror. And that's when Jordan found the journal. It was hidden beneath the floorboards, wrapped in rotting cloth. The pages were brittle, the ink smudged, but we could make out just enough. It was written by a man named Elijah Brandt, dated 1912. He had lived in this cabin, alone at first, but then came the dreams, the whispers, the shadows. The journal said the stone circle was a seal, a binding place, meant to keep the forest gods beneath the earth. Something had broken the seal. Elijah had tried to fix it, but it was too late. It always was. On the last page, in a frantic scrawl, were the words, "They don't want you to leave. They feed on the fear. The longer you stay, the more real they become. One must stay behind, so the rest may go." Jordan closed the book, pale and silent. Ellie shook her head, whispering, "No, there has to be another way." We all get out. Suddenly we heard something, scratching, from the inside of the attic wall. I turned slowly. A long crack began to form across the wooden planks. From within it, black, tar-like ooze started seeping through, and beneath it, eyes. Dozens of them, all blinking at once. I stumbled back, knocking over a box. The air in the attic grew thicker, harder to breathe. Ellie began coughing violently. Jordan dropped the bat, clutching his head like Marcus had before. Then a voice, echoed through the attic. Not from Marcus, not from anyone we could see. It was everywhere, around us, inside us. Choose. We looked at each other, shaking. No one said anything, but we all understood. One of us had to stay. I don't know if it was bravery or desperation, but Jordan stood first, his eyes glassy, his face blank. I'll do it. I don't want to. But I know I won't make it out anyway. No, Ellie cried, grabbing his arm. Don't be stupid. He smiled, a tired, broken smile. It's okay. Just don't waste it. We tried to stop him, but he stepped out of the attic, past Marcus, who now stood like a sentinel at the bottom of the stairs, unmoving. Jordan walked into the woods, alone, and the second he was out of sight, everything stopped. The darkness lifted, the cold receded, the cabin seemed normal. Marcus collapsed to the floor unconscious. We didn't waste time. We dragged him outside, found the car keys under the porch, where none of us had placed them, and drove until the trees thinned and the sun began to rise. We never spoke about what happened, not in full. Marcus claimed he didn't remember anything after the first night. Ellie deleted every photo from her phone. I still have the one of me sleeping, tucked away in a drawer I never open. We went back once, months later. The cabin was gone, not abandoned. Gone, as if it had never existed. But the forest remains, and sometimes, late at night, I dream of it, of the stone circle, of Jordan's face as he disappeared into the trees, and the voice, still echoing in my mind. One must stay, so the others may go. Sometimes I wonder, did we really escape? Or are we still inside the cabin, dreaming of freedom, while something ancient waits, just beneath the wood?